Welcome to the Branding PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. All right, so what does this mean? So basically, if it's not sold by January 19th, it's going to be banned in the US. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm in Texas. So there's several different things that have happened with legislation that have created bans on social media platforms. And I know, for example, with Instagram, I can't use my filters anymore. Snapchat has been fine, but Instagram definitely has been one impacted because of the facial recognition tools that are accessible on there. The state of Texas has banned that. Really, let me back up. It's banned unless you say that you consent to having the platform have access to the facial recognition. And there's like a set of terms and conditions that you need to accept and agree to and all of that other stuff. And the reason why they did it, from what I've gathered, is because of the concerns, again, with data and privacy. It's a real big thing, guys, for real. So with that being said, you have over 170 million users on TikTok, probably growing, and 7 million of those are business owners. So if you are using TikTok as a primary source and engine for new clients, new customers, money, all of those things, this is definitely going to impact you a lot. So what I would say in this instance, it's important to just, again, remember that in terms of your platforms, it's important to choose the right platform. Well, once you have the right platform, you also have to make it a point to ensure that you're not putting all your eggs into one basket. We call it, there's earned media, owned media, as well as other different forms of media. And one of them is actually your ownership of what information and news and things that are being shared. That's something that you own. So an example of an owned media would be like your website, right? So as long as you keep paying for your domain and you have that access, then you can continue to share the information about your brand and your business. When you only rely on social media platforms to communicate to your followers and your base, you do set yourself up for challenges. Just even a couple of years ago, there was the Facebook and Instagram blackout, right? And people were freaking out. My company, of course, we kind of set up some time with our clients and just kind of went over just what this means and everything like that. But we already had a consistent communication strategy that just because one area shut down didn't mean that it shut down everywhere else. And as far as what we were sharing to their audiences as well as our own audiences. And it was intentional, right? Because you never know what's going to happen with those platforms, especially when you don't own them. You're literally renting space. And in some cases, you're just kind of like just there, right? So when you think about the potential that these things can happen, a platform can shut down. Hi, MySpace. Right? That did happen. When you think about different platforms like that lose that popularity or a technical difficulty happens. When that does happen, you have to ask yourself, are you as a business owner, are you as an entrepreneur, are you going to be limited? Or is that the only way that you have access to your audience? And if the question is yes, then I need you to really sit down and start to build upon your own media. You cannot just be on one platform, let alone only working with social media platforms to communicate to your audience. I'm going to need you to look at different platforms that are available and accessible that make sense for the target audience that you have. Make sure your people are there first. Start to select those platforms. And then from there, I need you to get a more consistent strategy in terms of your communication on your own media. So I mentioned having it on your website, a blog, that's an example of your own media. Okay. Newsletters, e-blasts, those are all forms of owned media that you can have where you're sharing information to your customers. Those are the types of things that you need to be consistently sharing on and consistently showing up for, and it's because of instances like this. If one shuts down, it shouldn't shut down the rest. If one platform shuts down, it should not be oh no, we have no way to get in contact with people and there goes our sales. If that is you, Like, I need you to not run or not walk, but run. You need to go over there and start writing down where are all the areas that we're communicating and how can we start to add to, eliminate some that don't make sense, and really hone in on our strategy and our approach. Because if you are solely relying on social media platforms, you are really putting yourself at risk for losing an audience. And the TikTok ban itself, I think, is just an example, or potential ban, I should say. It's just a classic example of, listen, hey, if something happens to the platform, this is your opportunity to really hone in and start to strategize, if not already. If you're on just one platform, why are we just on one platform? Yes, it makes all of this revenue, but at the end of the day, your audience isn't only going to be on one platform. They're going to be in many places, because not everybody's on TikTok the same way not everybody's on Instagram. That's why you have multiple platforms. So I definitely want you to sit down, take some time, and really, really hone in on that. Put together a plan, and just be very clear in what it is that you're hoping to achieve. That's how you can be proactive. We don't want to be reactionary. We want to be proactive. You have almost 2 months now. So let's sit down and really hone that in and determine, okay, what other platforms are we on? Are we communicating effectively there? Is our audience there? And then let's look at our own media. Do we have newsletters? Let's create one. Do we have e-blasts going out to customers? Let's create one, so that you are starting to build a communication strategy that is not only effective, but is sustainable. And that's ultimately what you want to have. All right. So with that being said, oh my goodness, I feel like I have one more thing I wanted to add to that. Yeah, I think it's just pretty much what I said is, you've got to be able to move that content to other platforms. And actually, I didn't mention that. So this is another thing to consider and think about, especially as you're navigating and determining, okay, what's the next move if this does happen? So all of the content that you've created on TikTok, it is not lost. It is not lost content. Repurpose that content on other platforms in addition to your own media, right? So oftentimes what we'll do is we'll have, if we share a video somewhere that's more video or picture based, we'll share an accompanying blog post or a brief social media post in another one, right? We're repurposing content because we don't want to just post one thing and then that's just be it. No, we want to be able to use that content to its full capabilities. And sometimes that is tailoring it and matching it up to different platforms so that we're continuing on with that message. Repurpose that content. The videos are not lost. Go ahead and be downloading them now, absolutely. But be thinking of, okay, how can we turn this into a blog post? How can we turn this into a potential resource for our clients, our customers? What can we do more with this? And typically, I'll say this: you can have at least 2 to 3 things that come out of those videos. So don't just think that you're going to toss those TikTok pages or toss the videos, or think, oh man, all of my content is just lost. No, you can repurpose that. Do something with that content, and just think of ways that you can use it on other platforms that are going to be beneficial for you. All right, so this is my last one I wanted to talk about, which is AI pros and cons. So, as far as like latest activities and events, obviously ChatGPT is blowing up, but also just AI in general. I'm starting to see it on all kinds of different platforms, whether it's email now it's on our web browsers as an option. If you need help with AI, clean up your text. So AI has successfully been embedded in all things content and content delivery. So as a business owner, it definitely means a lot for you, because one, if we want to talk about the pros, one of the first pros that come to mind is that AI is definitely going to be one of those tools that are or is going to enhance your productivity. You can spend a matter of seconds on AI compared to what is usually hours, maybe even days to complete a project. You can do that in a matter of seconds, maybe even at best minutes, right? As you're kind of honing in on that content. And that makes a big difference for a business owner. It makes a big difference for a small business. So it enhances the productivity that you have for you as well as your team to get things out. It's also very efficient. All right. So you're going to have this opportunity where you can get things out much more quickly than you have in the past. You can work a little bit more seamlessly because you have some of those basic tools like grammar checks, punctuation, all of that other stuff, and even down to the flow and the tone of your messages. AI is doing all of that for you. And I think it's an incredible, incredible tool. But I want to emphasize that is what I look at AI as. As a communication professional, I love AI. But I understand that AI is simply a tool, nothing more, nothing less. It's not a replacement of a person. It's not a replacement of a worker or writer or any of that. It is simply a tool. And the sooner that we recognize that, I think the better that you can become and the more you can do with it. I've seen business owners that, have made comments or shared that, oh, I've replaced my person with AI because now I don't have to pay this person. And, and I let them know, like, hey, you're doing yourself a disservice because AI is not, it's still learning, which is one of the cons of AI. It's still learning. I know it's shocking to believe that, but robots are still learning. They're not this all knowing being that just comes up with all these things just organically. It's being sourced from somewhere. It's being sourced from the internet. Let's start with that. So the information isn't necessarily original. It's simply stuff that they've been able to find through the internet and from other publishers, users, and those that have posted things like this. So it's still learning. It's still perfecting. It's still getting better. It's advancing rapidly. I will give AI that, but it's still learning. So with that being said, it can't be an end all be all for anyone without having some human aspect or human involvement in it, right? So there has to be a person that is involved in some kind of aspect of it. Otherwise, there are going to be challenges with it. I've had prompts that I've done for AI where there was misinformation shared, sources that didn't exist. I've even had AI give me situations in instances that never even happened. But the way that it shares it sounds like, hey, this sounds really good. It's almost equivalent to like, I was going to say a PR spin because I know people always try to say that, publicists are all they're going to spin it and make it fluffy and, sugar coated and all the other stuff. And essentially that's what AI is kind of doing is it makes it very, very compelling. And unless you are or have that second view or go and verify that information, it can get you hemmed up fairly quickly. So it's important to just be aware that it's still learning. It's not this all-knowing thing. It's still adapting, and it's not foolproof, not by no means. And so because it's not foolproof and it's not fail-proof, there are some errors that it can produce when it is providing you with content and things to share. So, but with that, you have to be really careful of how you're using it. But once again, if you recognize and understand that it is simply just a tool, use it for those basic things that you have. Use it for some of those complex things that you have. I really like AI as a comms professional for ideation process, right? If I need an idea, if I have something like, you ever have those ideas that are just like at the tip of your tongue and it's like, if I just can't like, I can't put my finger on it, but it's something that would be really, really good. But I just can't, how would I do it? And those are really good prompts for AI because it can give you some good general ideas of what you could do with that idea and how you can leverage that idea. I love it for that. I also love it for just cleaning up my text. I have a tendency to sound very corporate speak is what I've been told. So it can come off a little harsh in email. So sometimes even I will get on there and I'm like, okay, I need to say, I need this paper from you by this time. Otherwise you're fired. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not like that. I promise. Like I'm not that mean. I'm not that harsh. But yeah, just something simple like, hey, I need this urgently. Like I need this tone to be like, listen, you need to get it to me right now. And it'll clean it up to make it nice and fanciful so that it's easily digestible for the person that's receiving and not going to come across as mean, even though I do need that paper by this time. I like it for those things. So when you think about just what you're going to be using AI for, be very, very clear and be very understanding that it's just a tool and it's not something that is completely fail proof. It's got its errors, it has its mix ups, it has its issues with sources. So I would not suggest don't have it writing papers for you. Absolutely not. I would not suggest it having very complex processes or excuse me, complex tasks where it would require sources in there. Like you need to provide it with that. Any source or information you want to provide it with, if you need to use that, you need to make sure to reference your own sources and do not, and be very clear. Do tell it, I do not want your sources. I just want you to use what I've provided. That is a better way to go about it, because otherwise you're going to deal with misinformation. You're going to deal with the potential that you're sharing something and it's not factual, and you can be challenged by that. And it just raises other concerns and issues with that. So, um, AI pros and cons. The pro, of course, productivity and efficiency. It's going to help your workflow progress exponentially, in my opinion. Depending on what all you're sharing and everything like that, it does help a lot with productivity and efficiency, especially when you're on the computer, you're seeing a lot of emails, you're drafting a lot of things. It can help to clean up that process, especially when you have edits. The con of this, of course, is that you cannot just solely rely on this product, and that it is still learning and it's still adapting. So that means that there are going to be some hiccups there, and you just have to be very, very careful when you are using it, that you tailor it towards yourself. If I had any advice on using AI, for anyone, it would absolutely be make sure that you are tailoring the language, whatever prompt you provide it and what it gives you back, that you're tailoring it towards you. Make sure that it makes sense for you. Make sure you take a look at it before sharing it with anybody else. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten clearly AI emails. And I mean, because come on now, like, hope all is well. I hope your day is bright and sunny. Come on now, we don't talk like that. Be for real. Not only that, but one thing I was joking around with a colleague of mine was just the fact that in some social media posts for different companies, you can tell who's using AI because their social media posts will say something like exciting news or thrill. There is nothing that exciting. Everything isn't always exciting. Just make your announcement and move on so we can all get our coffee and go about our day. That's a kind of red flag of AI is, constantly using the thrilled and just almost an over exemplification of words. It's like, okay, come on now. Like, that's a little much. So with that being said, make sure that you're tailoring it towards you and how you speak and how you want to communicate your message. Don't just copy paste it. Make sure that it reads well, that you understand it, and that it does come across like someone, okay, this sounds like a human's approach. Like, this sounds pretty consistent to our brand and our audience, and just go from there. But that's everything I have for you all today. I want to thank you so much for jumping in and joining me for this episode. As always, please give us a review. Let us know what you think. And shoot us over an email. If there's something that you want us to talk about, anybody that you would love to see me interview, let me know. I always love getting these responses. Even the responses today were so cool. You guys saved me a lot of time, especially when you knew exactly what you wanted me to talk about. And these are all some pretty hot topics. So I'm glad I could speak with you today about them. But yeah, give us a review, give us a like, follow us on our newest platform, Blue Sky Threads, at Brand Inc. PR, BRANDINC PR. And yeah, we'll check you guys out next time.